Happy Information Wednesday. Chalyce McQueen here. I opened a seltzer water and it went absolutely everywhere. But life happens. I have wet hair. But if that's not the perfect lead-in for an umbrella policy conversation, I don't know what is. But per my video earlier, I talked about the annual stats of civil lawsuits filed, which is over 286,000. So that's a ton of opportunity for us all to get sued. And the reality is people are sue happy. And the biggest misconception is you don't have to be a millionaire to get sued like one. So without further ado, we're going to jump right in. In earlier videos, I shared events that would have otherwise left my clients completely crippled financially. They did not have an umbrella policy. We talked about the aunt that got her leg stuck, her foot stuck in a trampoline and sued her family for $875,000 and was awarded. We'd have fatality car accidents that happen all the time, one of which my client was involved in, and that's still an ongoing investigation and claim. So the story is still being written. But as a whole, what happens in the event someone sues you is obviously whatever overage that your policy does not cover, you then have exposure. And how someone collects on that is they could garnish your wages, put a lien on your house, etc. So it's not just one of those things, well, I don't have the money now, and so do you really want to try to collect from me? You don't have to be sued. You don't have to be a millionaire to be sued like one. What you have today is not necessarily what you're going to have tomorrow or in the future, and people typically bank on that. So it's really important to hedge your bet and make sure that you have a further. As I was saying, it's important for us to hedge our bets against our past mistakes and also our future mistakes and make sure that we have the proper protection. So I want to first talk about the umbrella policy in relation to the auto. So with your auto, you have underlining limits. We're just going to do basic math and just use 100, 300 limits. And what that means is we pay 100 per person, a max of $300,000 for bodily injury. Well, what happens in the event that the people involved exceed our limit or the property damage amount exceeds the limit? It does not matter. Your auto policy will never adjust to compensate for how an accident turned out. The policy limits are the way it is. There's no budge on that. So in the event that you were to have a fatality car accident, we'll just use worst case scenario. What happens is you hire a lawyer, they get involved, they find out what you have, what you don't have, and what their ability is to collect against the insurance company and of course you personally. And so the reality is, say you have a $300,000 limit on your auto policy and all three people had died. Do you think $100,000 a piece is enough to pay out for someone's life? The answer we all can say is no. So what's going to happen is people are going to sue you and see what they actually can get. And again, without the umbrella policy taking you to $1 million or $2, $3 million, depending on what your limits are, you have a whole lot of burden to carry and to figure out financially how to recover. Anyone that has a youthful driver should 100% have an umbrella policy. The second your kid turns 16 and is driving full time, you should have an umbrella policy because kids make a lot of mistakes. In fact, the stats for drivers under 25 is about 75% are more likely to get in an accident than not. So it's just important to hedge your bet. Again, my umbrella policy previously at $1 million was $404 for the year. I did recently up mine to $2 million after some recent events that I witnessed. And so obviously every million, your umbrella policy is saying every $1 million does have a different premium involved. But like I said, the bare minimum, $1 million is a no-brainer. And this is not just for people, again, that have assets. You could be living in an apartment, saving for your first house, and be involved in a terrible accident, be sued by somebody for defamation, you name it. There's so many scenarios that warrant a lawsuit these days that you can be caught in the crossfire. So it's important to make sure that you just are protected. And as long as you have an auto policy with Farmers, we're able to write the umbrella for you. Now, how does the umbrella policy help compensate for your homeowner's policy? So the umbrella covers your home in terms of its personal liability. So in your home, the typical personal liability limits, $300,000 or $500 are pretty typical. So it increased your $300,000 liability to $1 million, or of course $500 to $1 million. And this would help in the event that someone outside your household was to be harmed on your property. Say the dog bit somebody, one of your vendors fell. Again, you got involved in a argument with your neighbor and got a little mouthy, and now they think that they're entitled. Whatever the story may be, that will raise your limits and protect you up to $1 million or beyond, depending on your policy. So what I'm trying to write home here, if I haven't done a good job already, is an umbrella policy is an absolute no-brainer. There's so many life events that occur that should definitely warrant us to think twice about not having an umbrella policy. The youthful driver is definitely one of them. Buying a home, increasing our finances, serving a nonprofit board, coaching your kids' soccer team, carpooling, throwing parties, you name it. All of these events are increased exposure for us. So remember to ask yourself, are you protected? And for $404 a year, we'll just use my number previously, that's $33 a month. That breaks down to $1.12 a day. So for $1.12 a day, can you afford not to have protection? I think not. As always, if I could be of any assistance, you can give me a call at 602-525-5665 or email me at cmcqueen@farmersagent.com. We'll see you all next week.